Next up, we're going to be checking out Weno's The Project Moon reading list. This is a breakdown of Limbus Company, Library of Ruina. Sorry, let me correct myself. Ruina, you're welcome. And Limbus Company, along with their other various works and other mediums. And going through all the different literary sources and how they play into them to some extent. This is catnip for me and I love it, so we're going to do more of it. Let's jump into it.
Yin and Yang were contributed by the Chinese translation team, and are obviously based on
Yin and Yang.
Yin and Yang.
My God.
So I don't need to explain this one, I hope.
Philosophical concept. And they're literally the named thing. Kind of on the nose, but also, it's not even an inspiration, it's more just direct one-to-one at that point.
Il pianto della luna is Italian for the lament of the moon. When being worked on, the Abnormality plays the first movement of Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata. While breaching, it plays the third movement. It also used to be called by its Spanish name El Llanto de la Luna in...
I don't know why, but I keep thinking Bloodborne. And I have no idea why I'm thinking that, because I don't think there was a bird aesthetic, which is what the feathers in the back look like.
The legacy version, but was changed to Italian for consistency's sake.
Oh.
The breaching form of Clouded Monk resembles that of a preda, a spirit in Buddhist mythology that is suffering due to numerous punishments for its misdeeds when it was mortal. Such spirits were callous individuals who are now subjected to supernatural hunger, thirst, cold, and heat. The most awesome abnormality, Bald is Awesome, references Bruce Willis and The Rock, of all people.
Okay, there was a lot of things I was expecting. The Bruce Willis Rock abnormality was not one of them. If that was in the bingo list, I would think that was a joke until it's real.
Bruce Willis because the flavor text name drops him, and The Rock.
Wait, I'm sorry, it's literal. You could look just like Bruce Willis if you're bald. Huh. Okay.
And The Rock because the Eagle Weapon is a reference to the character he portrays in the Fast and Furious franchise.
The Rock was in Fast and the Furious? Wait, Hobbs and Shaw? That's Fast and the Furious? Oh yeah, Fast and the Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw. I have never heard of this. And this is only, this video's only a month old. It sounds like a joke, except it seems like it could be real.
Never would I imagine that you need to watch the freaking Fast and Furious films to understand PM War, but...
I'm sorry, what was that?
Imagine that you need to watch the freaking...
I just realized that's supposed to be Vin Diesel. Oh my God. I sound like a little Walmart scooter with like the flames coming out of the back. Oh, I know it's AI generated, but it's just, that's, who thinks of this? Actually, considering how many movies are out there, this might be closer to reality than I really ever want to consider. So let's not think about that. Also, Gilgamesh, you mentioned Nodia Made You Hate Finland by Polo94. If you can do it at some point, it's a really cool and insane Finnish game. Same as Ultra Kill, Fear and Hunger. Oddly enough, Gilgamesh, I have done a video about Nodia. I have no idea if I'm saying it right. And either way, huh? I'm not sure if I played the game itself, although the combination mechanic looks fascinating.
Fast and Furious films to understand PM War, but here we are. Nosferatu is based on the whole idea of vampires in European folklore, who are called blood fiends in the games. While they are quite different from their bloodsucking inspiration.
Okay, this is a spoiler for me because I have not seen this.
They are pretty much vampires, yeah. The modern interpretation of the myth can be read in the short prose The Vampire, but...
Also being told Hobbs and Shaw was 2019? So it's over half a decade old. Oh, damn.
By John William Polidori, or experienced in any of the numerous pieces of...
Oh, wait, Vampire. I don't even know that one. I mean, I know Dracula, but I never knew Vampire.
Vampire media. Haha, Junior back.
What?
Banging my daughter. Price of Silence.
Oh, that's a reference to, what's it called? Spook Show? No, it's the one where they have all the comedians doing the horror villains at a hotel. Hotel Transylvania, that's it.
That's another major arcana card of the tarot deck, that being 13, Death. The way it refers to Hawkman in particular is that the card symbolizes change and how a major phase of someone's life is ending while another one begins. A person needs to put their past behind them so that they can move forward. The reversed version of death means stubbornness, refusal to change, and stagnation. Overcoming your dread of the unknown possibilities lets you face the fear, breaking the cycle.
Oddly enough, it's the death card that doesn't actually revolve around people dying usually. Although it can because of the change from life to death, but... Weird. The philosophy behind tarot in general is actually fascinating in its own right.
Damn, such a cool abnormality. Why was it even removed from the Lob Corp? Pinocchio.
They had things removed from Lobotomy Corporation? I'm sorry. No. This needs to be said. I know enough about Lobotomy Corporation to know that that is a game that it delights in torturing its players. And they were like, you know what? This might be too much. Let's not do that. That concept alone. Yeah. Although I think in this case it might be more because the entire plot line of the game, when you actually figure it out for Lobotomy Corporation, was it was coming to change people. And the death card would be a little too on the nose and maybe just give a bad connotation. And some abnos were cut. Oh, dear God.
References Pinocchio from the Adventures of Pinocchio by Carlo Collodi, where a marionette Pinocchio wants to become a boy Pinocchio. The abno leans more towards the wise and mere imitation of being a human, rather than learning and internalizing actual...
Wait, what did that say?
...and mere imitation of being...
Of course you have blue hair and pronouns. What?
...a human, rather than learning and internalizing actual values that constitute a human.
Oh, yeah, because she was supposed to be the robot version of someone who didn't have blue hair and was an it, so they wouldn't even have pronouns. The joke is supposed to be Twitter, isn't it? But it's applying because it was treating someone as a non-entity, and that's what fucked up. And it immediately made the entire winning factor of the game a failure.
Doomsday Calendar's design is inspired by a second solar calendar. Contrary to popular belief, the Sunstone didn't function as an actual calendar, but more of a cultural symbol and ritualistic object that referred to cosmic cycles. The abno's purpose is depicted through the ritualistic Claydol sacrifices, while the Universe of Flame skill might be alluding to the actual apocalypse, probably the one that was supposed to happen in the year 2012.
Yeah. Also, the entire thing about the Mayan calendar is that because it was all cycles, their cycle was between multiple worlds, and each world died when everything was plunged to the darkness. So the flame was actually keeping it alive, and the sacrifices kept the flame going. There's more there, because the cycle was either the cycle of sacrifice or the cycle of whatever was keeping you alive dying, and then the world ends and you have to start over. Yeah. That was a thing.
Shame it's running a bit late, though. Golden apples were used all throughout various legends as a reward or a MacGuffin to be retrieved by a hero. The Limbus version, however, may be closer to the Apple of Discord that was dropped by Airier at the wedding of Peleus and Thetis, which led to the Trojan War. But I don't remember it killing anyone by itself, so the...
Yeah. I wonder what reference this is to the game. I have no random idea what prologue character died in this one. You know, just to make sure, hey, don't worry, we will kill the best characters. That it would be really traumatic if he was trying to remind me of that right now. God damn you, Weno.
The connection is admittedly somewhat tenuous. Baba Yaga borrows its name from the ferocious-looking old witch that eats children and flies in a big wooden mortar. The body of the abnormality, though, is the witch's hut that stands on chicken legs. Her first literary appearance would be in Mikhail Lomonosov's book Russian Grammar.
Oh.
But you can also see her...
Wait, a grammar book? Oh. Sorry, I knew of Baba Yaga from just general folklore. I didn't realize the first written experience was actually in... But if it's a grammar book, that means it had to be something that was relevant to most people so they would realize what's going on. And what's it? Oh, my wife's waving. She's cute. Sorry, I got distracted. Yeah. So if it's in a grammar book, that means it was so popular culture relevant that people would get it when referencing it. So it was actually well known in the area to make sense as a book of grammar. It's kind of like referencing something in a book now, which would also imply that there might have been previous writing unless there was no written language before and the grammar book was trying to use that. Sorry, this is where I get into linguistic history. And that is an incredibly complicated thing. Which came first, the story or the parts written about the story. And that is probably answered somewhere, and I just don't know about it.
In a large number of Slavic fairy tales as a secondary character or antagonist. Yaga usually isn't portrayed as an ice witch, but Rodian's story and Russia's general cold climate might have contributed to this slight change in representation.
Although I would say with a lot of Limbus company, it seems like everything has more than one inspiration. There's the blatant one and the less blatant. I wouldn't be surprised if the Ice Queen comes up sometime, even though I think that's been referenced in other places.
My Form Empties is based on a Heart Sutra of Buddhist mythology, though a more novelized inspiration would be Journey to the West's Sutra Tripitaka, a collection of ancient scriptures that...
Okay, this live action is weird in a lot of ways. One, the Klingon monk and the let's go with body horror monkey inspiration in the background.
The protagonist of the story, Sun Wukong, has to collect. A monk who accompanies the hero, Tang Tsendang, is also attributed to the moniker of Tripitaka, since it's his mission to seek the sutras. He is probably the Buddha that is depicted by the Abnormality, because, spoiler alert, at the end of the novel he is appointed as the Buddha of Sandalwood. It is also worth noting that the ego of the
Oh no, are you saying that the spoiler for the book that was written thousands of years ago, actually not sure when it was written, hundreds, thousands, probably thousands, is, I mean, man, that's way too soon. You got a spoiler warning that. It's only been longer than our entire country, and I can say that for almost anyone watching right now has existed. And that includes some of the ones that are probably very old as well.
Translates roughly to the form of emptiness, which refers to the concepts of sunyata, or vacuity, in Buddhism. Drifting fox might be referring to the Korean folktale of sun showers, or fox rain, which occurs when a tiger marries a fox.
Oh! See, this is the thing I've seen a lot because it comes up often when I play the Mirror Dungeon. I didn't actually realize that it was actually part of folklore. I thought it was just cute fox. Honestly, I thought it would be more a reference to the internet than anything. But I guess because this is a Korean story, having Korean folklore is probably the most obvious one. Which also implies that there's a lot of other obvious things to an initial Korean audience that are so blatant that they would actually be kind of abstracted from people outside Korea who don't have that cultural understanding. I wonder what other obvious things I've just missed because they're so blatant to the initial players. There's probably some at least.
The rain comes from a cloud that was in love with the fox and, due to being cucked, weeps upon seeing the wedding because it cannot bear the pain of unrequited love. I guess the rain is toxic or made out of undiluted K-Corp tears in the Limbus version?
Sounds about right.
Is based on a torture method used in ancient Greece. A person was placed inside the bowl and then cooked alive by lighting a fire underneath the bowl. The design was such that the screams from inside the device would sound like bellows of a bow.
Yeah, this is a thing. And I'm not entirely sure. I heard someone once describe this as the inspiration for barbecue. And I don't want to know if that's true or not, because on the one hand, ew. And on the other hand, it sounds so far-fetched that there's no way it's real, except dumber shit has happened.
And the steam that forms inside would come out of its nostrils. It seemed that the animal came to life during every execution. Fairy Gentlemen and Fairy Longlegs are seemingly related to each other and to Fairy Festival, and by extension to Titania and general European folklore.
Correction. Midsummer Night's Dream by William Shakespeare. Oh, because he initially attributed to Shakespeare, which is one of the things that made it popular with people when they weren't aware of it, but they were everywhere because Fae in general. Yeah.
But most of it is kind of speculation. I do want to note, however, that the harmful rain featured in Fairy Longlegs' Abno Choice event might be connected to K-Corp tears and drift.
Honestly though, wait, K-Corp tears? No, that's actually something, he's used that phrase twice now. I thought it was just a joke, but no, apparently it's actually a thing. And considering I'm in the 4th canto right now, it's probably a spoiler. I'll be honest though, I thought this guy was a cop at first.
Fox, though that is also a theory. A Limbus theory.
Boo!
So Christ talismans closely resemble the Fulu Taoist talismans. Sorry to interrupt again, but during my research I somehow mixed up the Chinese and Korean symbols.
Oh?
The proper origin would be the Korean bujo.
Oh.
And the alternatives would be the Japanese Hofuda and the Chinese Fugu. I do not know how that happened. I'm gonna chalk it up to being freaking tired during.
Huh. There's a difference, though. Looks like cloth over here and paper for the other two. Huh.
Writing all of this. Sorry.
Cloth would be more durable.
Headless ichthys is another Bible reference corresponding to the ichthys symbol in early Christianity that, indeed, looked like a fish. Symbolically, the word was kind of an acronym that meant Jesus Christ, God's Son, Savior. So this is like, what, the 4 Jesus candidates so far?
Huh? Why is it headless? Why does it have a brain in its stomach? Why does it have arms at that? What? I mean, the name is there, and that probably fits because it's a fish and the name is there, but there's probably... I wonder if there's one of those things where as soon as I actually get to the part of the story where this is actually relevant, it makes a lot more sense. Probably, yeah.
Freaking fish? God.
Also, I'm being told by the chat right now, specifically Necro, did some research. Barbecue was not inspired by the bronze bull. Thank you. Because I never wanted to look that up in case it actually was, and I never wanted to know that. But I'll take your word for this one. And while I am taking the opinion of a random stranger online as complete gospel on this one, I don't want to consider the alternative, and I would be fine being wrong about this one and never finding out. There are lines. That is one of them.
400... I almost said cigarettes. 400 Roses makes several references to a novel Carmilla by Sheridan Le Fanu. It's...
Oh. I mean, other than the color red, I didn't realize Carmilla, based on Elizabeth Bathory, had a rose motif.
2 ego gifts being names which the titular female vampire went by.
Oh, because the name.
Rose Hunter represents the huntsman that was sent to kill Snow White by the evil queen. Oh, and the queen is Ebony Queen's Apple. Forgot to mention that. CPM, that's how...
Yeah, that kind of makes sense because evil queen, apple, she gave the apple to Snow White. Yeah, that makes sense.
Forgettable Limbus's first wall class is. Please, buff. Spiral of Contempt may represent some sort of religious concept. The clasped hands being brought upwards, the...
Some kind of religious concept? Honestly, I literally thought it was the blood of Christ because the entire religious motif and how it always T-posed. It was... Honestly, this one felt like it was kind of blatantly obvious.
The motifs common in religious structures. There is something, but not enough to link it to something concrete. And
no, honestly, this one I'm pretty sure I got it right. This is very much feeling, or even just the fact that it looks like a lance of Longinus, which pierced Jesus in the mythology, although technically that was its own thing, and added in later. It very much looks like a mix of the lance and the blood, with all the religious motifs and halos in the background.
There are other details that potentially contradict my observations. This is one of the coolest Abno designs PM made,
it is.
So I'm
really
encouraging here some discussion about it. Ardor Blossom Moth might be related to an Irish myth about Dilan Day, or magical flames, appearing in a Beltane balefire during celebrations. But it's more likely that the idea for the abnormality came directly from the phrase, like moths to a flame, especially considering that
the Faust one, where she gets too close to the flame and blows up, as her actual concept. Yeah.
Faust's LCE ego has a rather self-destructive tendency to combust.
Yeah, using her on auto is not fun.
Fey Lantern, another fairy-adjacent abnormality that references Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream with its ego gift. Maybe it's also connected.
Also, I keep fighting this boss, but I've only done it in the mirror dungeon when I'm so far advanced that I kill everything way too fast. I don't actually know.
To Fairy Festival? At this point, we could consider them like a whole set of fairy creatures.
Which makes sense
Dreaming
too.
Electric Sheep almost name drops the novel it is based on, which is
Jurassic Park. Ah, no, it was Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. Easy confusion there.
Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? If these sheep are anything like this boss, then no, they don't, if they know what's good for them.
Which is funny considering there is literally a gynoid in Limbus. I'm pretty sure, yeah, it's the same world, so it would be here eventually, maybe. I'm surprised no one's actually referenced her yet. Whatever.
Skin Prophet mentions 2 Bible verses, specifically Isaiah 9:2 and Isaiah 6:5.
The people walking in darkness have seen a great light. On those living in the land of deep darkness, the light has dawned. And woe to me, I cried. I am ruined, for I am a man of unclean lips, and I live among people of unclean lips, and my eyes have seen the King, the Lord Almighty. What? So how does this reference the skin prophet? And also, that name. Ew.
As to how
unclean.
they relate, here's a GIF instead.
Skill issue?
Sign of Roses has a lot of Christian imagery in its design. The diagonal post looks like one that...
Oh, it's probably a spoiler when he talks about it, so it makes sense. Oh, and D9, you mentioned the new mirror dungeon dropped this season? Oh yeah, later today. I forgot to take advantage of the reset. Oh, that's on me.
Saint Andrew was crucified on. And
Really?
the eagle gift is a crown of thorns that is akin to the one worn by Jesus.
Got something in my eye.
King in Binds in his animation present that
I have not encountered this one yet in Limbus, so maybe it's in Library or Lobotomy Corporation.
Cell before the king brings down a giant sword.
No, this is actually in Limbus. Oh.
By a piece of fabric. This is reminiscent of a story about the Sword of Damocles, in which the king Dionysus exchanged places with his courtier, Damocles, and let him sit on the throne for one day while ordering to hang a sword by a horse's hair right above the man. Cicero, a Roman narrator, later committed the anecdote to this book series, to Scolani Disputationes, after which it entered the cultural mainstream. The fanbase kinda believes that there may be some through line between all Refraction Railroad wall abnormalities, but I don't really see it.
I mean, other than just being kind of blood related, yeah.
Nymph, Centaur, Hydra, and Cyclops are set.
Okay. I've encountered a few of these, and they're oddly enough helpful, but they're all really creepy, and they're all Greek named, but like in the creepy Silent Hill style.
Of hospital-themed abnormalities that take their names from Greek mythological creatures. The reason why they're Greek and in the hospital may have to do with the staff caduceus, which is recognized as a symbol of healthcare. Otis also has the symbol in her ego art, by the way.
Wait, she does? Oh yeah, she was on the... She has the staff... Was Otis a doctor? That makes the entire concept of her letting her men die even worse than... By
the way, White Knight's eagle weapon, Paradise Lost, is also similar to the staff of Asclepius, who is the Greek god of medicine, while Caduceus was the staff of Hermes, and originally represented trades and everything associated with the trickster god.
Honestly, I just keep getting those mixed up, so one is one, the other is the other. A trickster makes a lot more sense because Hermes and Odysseus, yeah. Sorry. 2 snakes versus 1 snake. I never get that straight, and I know I made that mistake before in the past.
It's all very confusing when trying to dig into it. Oh, and also some of the abnormal designs are reminiscent of Silent Hill enemies. Monkey Tree.
I'm sorry. What? You ever look at something and go, yeah, that was your thing, wasn't it? Okay. Okay. Just gonna leave it at that.
Monkey Tree resembles a dead tree in a desert, maybe of a particular biological species. However, this is yet another Divine Comedy reference. In the middle ring of the 7th circle of hell, violence, Dante sees a barren field of dead trees and bushes, who are the transformed souls of those that took their own life. Vergilius even instructs Dante to snap one of the branches to confirm this, after which the tree screams in pain. Why is the gift called Underbranch? Probably because trees have a tendency to catch lightning and become dead just like the Abno. Perhaps the lightning is some kind of divine punishment, casting the soul into the Inferno.
I mean, we are in the Inferno. Also, hey, Via Wild Magic, thank you for joining the membership at the Clean Shaven level. Thank you very much. That's awesome. Also, I have not run into this abnormality, and that's kind of terrifying.
Or maybe I'm reading too much into this, and I'm just a dumbass.
Also, trees do attract lightning.
Hole in the Man may be a reference to a French existentialist play, No Exit, by Jean-Paul Sartre. In it, a character named Estelle has a relationship with a man who shot himself in the head due to her actions. Later in Hell, Estelle mistakes the man with another character, Garson, who she accuses of hiding a hole in his head. The ego gift also is of some relevance, since Garson at some point reminisces about his wife holding his code that is riddled with bullets. Spider of Marriage has an ego gift, Prejudice, that considers
I'm sorry, what? Oh, they're sewn together. And they're walking on the thorns, and what is with all the bloody rose thorns everywhere? That's a thread line I've seen in multiple Abnos now that I never realized was so prevalent.
Prejudice, that, considering the pride affinity of it, may be a small nod towards an English novel by Jane Austen.
Really? I mean, other than being a pride residence, I don't see it.
And Prejudice. Smoky Old Man's ego gift, Homeward, features a faded picture that is eerily similar to the battle background against the road home in Ruina.
Really?
Perhaps he is somehow related to the Wizard of Oz?
I mean, it does kind of fit, but this feels more like noir style. I feel he might be right by that, but also I mean, the wizard was supposed to be living a lie. I feel like this one might be reaching just a little too much.
By the way, I like to think that Old Lady from LoveCorp is also related to the Old Man, since they are both explicitly called old, and
I wonder actually then if they're both a reference to American Gothic, which is a painting of an old man and an old woman with a pitchfork in front of a farm.
Maybe they used to keep each other company at some point. Pagoda Veneration's ego, Wishing Cairn, specifically the one Yisang uses, has a passive that name drops the exact inspiration behind the Abno, namely Do Harabong statues on Jeju Island in Korea.
Oh.
The act of placing stones on top of one another is a Korean tradition. Cairns are formed by passersby.
I mean, cairns aren't just a Korean tradition, they're all over the place. They're a very common form of burial in multiple cultures over multiple millennia, not just Korea. Unless he's specifically talking about the form and not cairns, and I was just breaking them up differently because I'm hearing it rather than reading it, which, after having said all that, makes more sense.
Trails, roadsides, and on mountaintops. When hikers successfully add a stone without toppling the cairn over, they hope that they've appeased the mountain spirit, or Sanshin, and that it will bring them good luck.
Oh no, apparently he was actually just referencing the cairns in Korean tradition rather than the fact that it's a very common tradition in most of the world for different reasons.
Time Duck in its Mirror Dungeon event references the duck-rabbit illusion, where the observer can see either the ears of a rabbit or the beak of a duck. The fact that the design of the Abno consists of melted clockwork might be somewhat similar to Salvador Dali's piece, The Persistence of Memory. The ego name Everlasting can be somewhat synonymous with
I'm gonna be honest, I don't get the Time Duck, but that is still one of the prettiest looking egos out there. Also, it looks like Faust in a wedding gown, which is, I'm sure someone was like, wife. It's the internet. It's a guarantee.
Persistent after all. Dimensional Orbit Stabilizer's ego gift, Disk Fragment, appears to be similar to a piece of a Nebra sky disk that was uncovered in Nebra, Germany.
Oh?
Apparently, it is one of the oldest depictions of the cosmos, and might have been used as an astronomical calculation tool to determine planting and harvesting times. Apparently, Funeral of a Dying Butterfly is based on Korean overworked salaryman, or guraso, who fly away after not getting the job they've applied for.
I'm sure when they say fly away, it's not a reference to any other type of bridge-related activities. Yeah, Korean though. I mean, that sounds more like Japanese work culture, some places in America. Although I've been told that apparently Japanese work culture is so toxic that it makes American work culture look very healthy by comparison. That's kind of fucked up.
Fly away being a metaphor for unaliving themselves.
Yeah.
Now, the wiki states this, but I could not fact check it, so take it with a grain of salt, please.
I mean, it would be possible to look that up, but then you're looking up stuff you probably don't want on your search history, and I understand why he wouldn't do that. Also, Luna, you mentioned, do Borde, Cola, and FNAF the Ultimate Timeline AV game theory? I don't know what any of those are. I know what FNAF is. Ultimate Timeline? No idea. I don't know what AV is, but I know game theory. I'm assuming you meant Matt Pat's channel or former channel. I think he still owns it, but he doesn't actually run it anymore. I don't know.
Broken Wings bears resemblance to the sculpture Winged Victory, depicting the goddess.
Oh, and that's pretty cool because in this one you see the parts that are glowing are the parts that wouldn't be there anymore. Oh, that's a cool little nod.
So victory, Nikkei. Now that's a crossover I wouldn't mind seeing.
Depends which way it goes. Bringing Nikkei into Project Moon? Terrifying. Bringing Project Moon into Nikkei. I mean, it's still Project Moon, so probably still terrifying. But oh my god, man.
Seeing. Resident of Metropolaris is 2 syllables away from plagiarizing the film Metropolis by Fritz Lang.
Yeah.
The design of the Abnos head.
Actually, 1927, it's over 100 years. That's... Nope. It's not over 100 years. It's at 98 years. So it's probably at the point of being allowed to be used freely. I think it's 85 to 84 years where copyright falls off finally without any repeats. I don't think Metropolis was pushed that far, but I think it's probably safe to use it however you want at this point.
Is also
like a Cthulhu.
Somewhat similar to the designs in the movie, though my mind immediately jumped to those guys from the movie Robots.
Yeah.
Basili soup is based on a European folk story about a stone soup, where a group of travelers places a stone into a pot and claims to the peasant villagers that they are cooking a stone soup. The villagers decide to make the soup actually tasty by throwing in actual ingredients. In the end, the travelers take out the stone and enjoy the soup together with the villagers. The basilisk is probably the stone part of the soup, since in some interpretations of the mythical creature, it has a gaze that can turn anyone into a statue.
Wait, that's supposed to be a basilisk? Honestly, I thought that was a dragon, or maybe a wyvern. Because he's using the more modern interpretation of a basilisk, which is more serpentine, or sometimes a flat-out serpent, as opposed to the initial one, which was a chicken. Or am I getting that backwards? Was the initial one a snake that was afraid of chickens? Or was it a serpent dragon thing? You know what? I've heard so many mythologies at this point. I've seen so many people use it in their own derivative ways that I actually don't remember which one's which at this point. That's actually embarrassing. Huh. I thought it was a wyvern first, though. Although it kind of looks like a rooster's cowl at the top.
Statue. Alright, that's it. The end of Abnormalities. Holy hell. Should have probably cut down them to only specific...
Me torture myself by including unrelated trivia to make the videos longer, but much more interesting.
Specific book references, but whatever. Now, here comes the actually interesting part, because there's no more book reading going forward. Yippee! We're going to come through all the interviews now, and find the media that inspired Kim Jae-hoon.
He actually went through the interviews for... Oh, God. That sounds like even worse than the books.
Most of these are games and movies, and also books, but we've already mentioned most of them previously. Again, thanks to the Russian wiki that compiled all interviews so that I could find them in one Google search. We're gonna start with the most recent one, and then grab other references from the more...
Cockatrice is the chicken that petrifies, yeah.
The first interview is conducted by Daichi Saito of Needy Streamer Overload fame, and Ginny, the manager of the game review media outlet Game Seminar, both forming Indie Intelligence Network, a journalist organization that focuses on talking with indie developers and distributing their insights to others who may need it. Apparently, in their introductory paragraph, the article describes Project Moon as revolutionary heroes of the Korean game industry. But, well, anyway, when asked what...
I mean, to be fair, it is the most popular Korean game I know about. I'm not going to acknowledge the other ones because... Oh, wait, that was a Hong Kong-based game. Never mind. I thought it was Love in Deep Space with Korean for a second. I think that's actually Hong Kong as well.
Events led him to become a game developer. Kim Jae-hoon states that his gaming journey started with games like Counter-Strike and Half-Life, with the latter being a big influence apparently. Then he hits us with a whole pile of Japanese media, first being Neon Genesis Evangelion, then Gurren Lagann, which spurred him to watch even more.
I can get Ava being a historic reference. I can get that. But Gurren Lagann counting as a historic reference, inspiring media that someone listened to in their youth or watched in their... That's just... No. No. No.
The melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, the familiar of Zero, Lucky Star. Then he moves into dramas like Bambino, Train Man, and
this is just making me feel old, man. I still think of these as like, oh yeah, that new series, Lucky Star. It's not. I know it's not. Oh god, it's getting me right in the old. Ugh.
And Boys Over Flowers. Despite Gurren Lagann being what got him into anime, the slice of life genre was closer to his tastes.
Yeah.
His preferences also applied to games like the JRPG Tales of Destiny, which featured solid dialogue and character interactions. After that, Kim names his top 3 favorite books, those being Damien, The Stranger, and Norwegian Wood by Haruki Murakami.
I don't know any of these. I mean, I know The Stranger. Wait. The Stranger was what Merceau was based on. It's one of his 3 favorite books. Honestly, that just seems weird because Merceau, while every line he has is fire, that doesn't stand out from everyone else who also has fire lines all the time. Huh. And Gilgamesh just going, welcome to the future, old man. I'm surprised no one has written there, how many times do we have to teach you this lesson? Because that seems to fit right now as well. I realize I just made a reference that's probably older than some of the people watching. Yeah. For anyone wondering, yes, that is a SpongeBob reference I mentioned. Also, Ori, I should check out putting a homemade jet engine on a swing by I Did a Thing When You Can. I have questions, but all of them will receive answers I'm not sure anyone is ready for.
Yes, I lied about there being no more books. But this one is interesting, since if you're somewhat familiar with its contents, the themes it represents don't really feature in any Project Moon's works. Well,
at least the overtly sexual ones? I don't know. I mean, we got Sinclair's chapter. That Kanto man was pretty... I mean, it was very obvious.
A little later in the interview,
he's a freaking harem protagonist.
Why the saying was created the way it was, filled with hatred and injustice. He then answers that it's how he views the world, because he himself is riddled with distrust and anxiety. When constructing the city, he was partly inspired by the works of Jorge Luis Borges. Well,
yeah, Borges. Or is it Borges or Borges? I think I've only ever read his name, and I know about him for some reason. I'm pulling a blank on him. Yeah.
Whose Library of Babel was already mentioned in the video. That's how he learned to build worlds of magical realism. Next, Kim Ji-hoon describes the media that
that's why magical realism. Yeah, that makes sense.
Directly led him to the creation of the franchise, starting with Arcturus, the Curse and Loss of Divinity, stating that...
Wait, Falcom? I don't know this game.
Its plot twist in the middle of the story. While I couldn't find the exact moment he was talking about, I can say that the game was impressive at the time because...
Oh, heavily stylized, but the top-down sprites. Yeah, I love that game.
On a complex and intriguing story, especially considering how dark it gets in the latter half. The gameplay also features a blend of turn-based and real-time battles.
If I had played this as a kid, I could see this being my new fascination. Granted, I didn't have a system until the PS2 came out, and technically Game Boy to lose at playing Zelda all the time.
Which really reminded me of Ruina, and especially Ruina's legacy builds on Project Moon's YouTube channel.
Legacy channel?
A founding member of Project Moon, and she's also kind of there in the interview.
She doesn't say a lot since he has so much.
Mentions that Kim Ji-hoon manages his company like an absolute monarch, and likens him to From Software's CEO Hidetaka Miyazaki. Kim even mentions later in the interview that he played Elden Ring, and is really looking forward to the DLC.
Relevance? None to low. But as most things with Elden Ring go, it will seep in because it's funny to make references. I just realized there's going to be someone who gets the giant Buster Sword, the freaking sword made out of blaze, and think, oh wow, Game of Thrones was referencing Elden Ring in that. That's going to be a thing that happens in the future. For anyone wondering, there is a sword made out of blades in Elden Ring. Because J.R.R. Martin helped build the lore for Elden Ring. So when you're wondering why that series is never finished, Elden Ring is part of the reason.
When interviewers asked about regional appeal, Kim mentioned Adventure Time as one of the inspirations for the...
Okay, this is the second time in this video that I have going to lose the bingo on this one because while this is still closer because of the weird nostalgic factor, I was not expecting this. That said, I was still expecting this more than The Rock. But it's up there. It's definitely up there.
The art style at the start of WobCorp's development. However, the style later changed to resemble more of an anime look, since it fitted more with his creative sense.
Yeah.
Lastly, during the development of Library of Ruina, Kim recommended his employees a board game to play every week in order for them to observe the game's designs and better understand.
Okay, good choices too. Terraform Mars and Dominion. I've never played Dominion. I've seen Terraform Mars play. I actually even recognize it. It's one of those games where it actually perfectly makes sense why they would then make Lobotomy Corporation after playing this game. Yeah, this is a game for people who really love building systems because you need to. I think it's like Satisfactory, but with way more masochism.
And better understand them. This is due to the fact that he created a tabletop game called Library of Babel during his student years, which is why he loves this genre to this day. The interview by itself has tons of insight into the director's life and his thought process behind the franchise, which deserves a video all on its own, but we gotta keep moving. Next is the TGS 2022 interview with IGN Japan. Note that I'll be using Google Translate for this, so some statements may be slightly inaccurate. There are several mentions of SCP Foundation as being the main inspiration behind Lobotomy Corporation.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense. If anything, I'd be surprised if he didn't know about it.
Kim Ji-hoon just wanted to play a monster management sim and didn't find one, so he decided to make his own. Also, yes, I finally mentioned SCP as one of the main inspirations for the series.
Relevance. Foundational. Yeah, without this, nothing of it happens, even more than most everything else.
You can stop yelling at me. After that, Kim explains why Library of Ruina has its real-time battle simulation, as he calls it. The main inspirations for it were the gameplay of the Uncharted Waters series, as well as Romance of Three Kingdoms.
I've never heard of this one. I mean, Romance I've heard of, it wasn't my favorite gameplay, but I know of it. Never heard of this one. I have no idea how old it is either.
Or Sangokushi in Japan. And the last mention in the interview would be of a mobile rhythm game, Cyrus, inside of which PM employees would find milk.
Wait, what? I've actually heard of this game. It was recommended all the time. I never played it because I suck at rhythm. Wait, this is where the band came from who they used for everything, yeah.
And their music. After which they probably contacted the group to make a couple of songs for LR. Okay, the original page for this interview is not even linked anywhere, so I had to dig a little. This is a 2021 GameMecca.com interview with Kim Ji-hoon and Lee Yumi, conducted by Lee Saibyok, the voice actress for Leslie. Okay, I guess she had an article writing gig or something.
I don't know that character, so I'm assuming she's either in library or I haven't encountered her yet.
Anyway, this interview was prompted by a 2 billion won investment into Project Moon that was made by a Korean mobile game company, Dep Sisters. It mostly focuses on the reasons behind PM's financial and artistic decisions and how they played into the modern otaku market. The first mention of a different game is actually made by Lee Yumi, that being Dungeon Fighter Online. It was her first game before meeting with Kim and starting her game development career.
When she says first game, like that's the first game she made or the first game she played? Both are just as important.
Next, there are some really interesting additional inspirations for WobCorp. Firstly, Cabin in the Woods. You know, that one.
Wait, what did he say in there? Spoiler warning for the movie. I have not seen this movie. I was like, oh, look, horror movie. I'm not going to watch it. I'm a coward. I don't do horror. I really can't.
That one.
What? Hopeless? Oh, okay. They got a bunch of monsters.
Another inspiration being Warehouse 13. Secondly...
Oh, I remember Warehouse 13, which is basically SCP, but honestly not as well written.
3 games are
Personal
named
opinion.
to be the approximate progenitors behind Lobcor's gameplay, those being Zoo Tycoon, SimCity 4, and Dungeon Keeper.
I actually always forget about Dungeon Keeper because it's basically the same thing as these, except I think these series just did more later. And I'm pretty sure there's not philosophical, but like spiritual successors to Dungeon Keeper at this point.
The elements of those games where you manage a zoo, city, or dungeon, but then you lose control, be that intentional or not, and then everything...
Wait, are you implying people didn't lose control intentionally? I thought that was the fun part, was seeing how bad you can make things break.
...goes to shit. Yeah, those elements are pretty familiar to anyone who played Lobcor. However, Kim does say that he had to go through a lot of trial and error anyway, and the aforementioned games were only partially influential in his thought process behind the game.
So it's less that they're massively important and more awareness of the genre in general. Okay, that kind of makes sense.
Talking about the Library of Ruina, Kim originally planned it to be a reverse dungeon crawler, kind of like Dungeon Keeper. The player will have to place librarians around the library to defend against the guests, having them act out roles of mobs who obstruct the adventure party's way. Further parallels are drawn with games like Domina and Football Manager.
I don't know either of these.
Eventually, though, the idea was scrapped, and Elder...
Oh, football. The European name, not soccer. Okay, that makes more sense. I was like, am I going crazy? That looks like a soccer... Oh. Sorry, I just had an American moment. They apparently happen.
Director, while playing Slay the Spire, just decided to
this
make
game's
Ruina
awesome.
into a story-heavy RPG with light deck-builder elements. Later, the interviewer asks Kim Ji-hoon, "Where did you get most of your inspiration for the story?"
Ooh, he's using a filter to alter his voice. Nice.
"I heard it was based on Jorge's The Library of Babel. There was some inspiration from Borges' short story collection.
Borges, that's how you say it.
But it wasn't my main reference. In fact, I only started reading classics when I was in college. But at the time, I was already so immersed in otaku media that it wasn't particularly stimulating or memorable. I'm not trying to disparage the value of classics, but since I already had other tastes, they didn't give me as much satisfaction as I thought. That's why I didn't use them as my main reference when making games. The story motive was actually a fantasy world I had set up when I was young. I used to imagine my own world and story since I was in elementary school.
I'm going to assume he doesn't mean the city, but more just a world of fantasy horror. Because if he was imagining the city in elementary school, this man scares me.
I didn't plan to make a game with that fantasy from the beginning, but as I started making the game, I got greedy. So my self-created worldview became the prototype of the city.
So it morphed into the city, okay.
Is woven quite broadly. I haven't decided on the details yet, but I already planned out the big picture of the setting, the story's important milestones, and the ending.
Are we talking specifically about Limbus or Project Moon? I think this is more... He's talking about the ending of Limbus Company, not Limbus, sorry, Lobotomy Corporation. Not Limbus, because that would be very different. If you know the ending of a gacha game, I mean, that's a power move as far as I'm concerned.
I plan to gradually unfold it. So yeah, the setting, even while having drawn elements and inspiration from such a tremendous amount of media,
about all of Project
is
Moon's
still
setting in
largely a
general.
creation of its creator's mind, his experiences and emotions, how the real world treated him, and how he views it in return. A mind that had developed around a marvelous collection of masterworks and awaited to be experienced and then reimagined. A mind that, despite the difficulties and setbacks in the real world, was not afraid to commit its imagination to paper. This mind brought experiences that not only made me deeply care about his characters and stories, but also about the people behind them. The group of people that crafted my favorite stories that never failed to bring me to tears. What's the group's name? Well...
Dude, that looks so cool. What? I don't know the setting. Ooh. Is it Heathcliff on... What the hell?
Thank you for watching the video.
Yeah, I need to go stream more Limbus Company. God damn it. Oh, I really want to see more of that game. I need to play it again, man. I haven't had time, and it just, god damn it.
There are probably
this just makes me want to play
references
more.
That I failed to include here. Here are the total stats of every piece of media that I did.
61 books, 22 games, 17 movies and series, other art, 4 miscellaneous references, at least 15. About 15.
I will be keeping a Google Doc that will include every single one of them, as well as other additions that I may find in the future, or
He's
that
gonna
will
add?
be suggested in the comments.
Oh god
I
damn.
want to make
updates then.
content that not only will be educational, but also entertaining. I'm also open to criticism. Maybe this video was fucking terrible. I won't know unless
idiot
you
would say
tell me.
that?
So yeah. Words of encouragement are also appreciated.
Dude,
of
this
course.
is awesome.
Well, anyway, here's the part where I again tell you to subscribe and such. You don't have to, but
Okay,
you know,
I subscribe. Good.
It would be cool, I guess. Okay, no more attention whoring. Bye bye.
Oh man. I swear, it's been too long since I played Limbus, and this is just making it feel more painful because I love that game. I play it every day. I just haven't played the story. And it's just so cool. If you guys haven't already, go subscribe to Weno. This guy's awesome. He just broke 1,011K. Not bad. So that's 1,110 subscribers. Which means he should have, is it 1,000 or 10,000 now where you can turn on monetization? I don't know. Either way, go subscribe to Weno. This is awesome. I love the detail of the work you put in here. I love getting to see everything. This is the kind of media that I really enjoy because it, one, indulges with my geeky sense of cool references, but also getting to see more of someone's passion for in a unique world and just how insane it is. And it's just good, man. Especially that little bit at the end. It just, I teared up thinking about all the cool moments I still have to see. It's like, that's going to be so cool. Just solid geek moments all the way for me right now. I know that's a shock to most people. Me having a geek moment. I'm usually so withdrawn and restrained and subdued in my opinions. And if you believe that, oh wow. If you guys haven't, though, there's a link below. Go to hit it up. Weno did an awesome job. But if he makes more like this, or he already has, I just missed them, let me know because I want to see that. It will be awesome. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.